Good people, welcome to a new Hustleland episode. Today I am almost in the middle of what it used to be called Mercia, an early medieval English kingdom, one of the 7 Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. This was a time that spanned across 3 centuries, somewhere between the years 600 and 900. Previously, in this area, it is said that they found traces of humans living here since Mesolithic, which is roughly between 5,000 years ago and 15,000 years ago. That's because not far from here, in this town, in one of its churchyards, and if you can't tell already, I am in one of these churchyards, it is said that there have been found flints, which are stone tools that dates from that period. With other words, welcome to Lichfield, the birthplace of Edward Darwin, Anne Seward and Dr. Samuel Johnson. I won't go into too much details about the early history of this city, but one thing I want to point out is that in 2009 the largest collection of Anglo-Saxon gold ever found was discovered in a parish around 4 miles from here. As you can imagine, Lichfield, like many other places in this area, was initially a Roman settlement, just like Londinium, Canterbury and others. It started to become again a point of interest somewhere in the 7th or 8th century, when the Anglo-Saxons started to become a force in this area, and probably the kingdom of Mercia was the most powerful of all. At that time, maybe you've heard of King Offa or Offa of Mercia. He was a successful leader, and many times he found himself in conflict with lots of Welsh kingdoms. But it is best known for ordering the construction of a massive earthwork barrier, which is famously called Offa's Dyke, along the border with Wales. He also created the Archdiocese of Lichfield to challenge Canterbury's influence. And we talk about this and this massive cathedral on the previous video on this channel. That's why today, in this video, I want to present you the Lichfield Cathedral. So I am very close to see this cathedral, Lichfield Cathedral. However, before going there, I also want to mention that in the book called Historia Brittonum, written by a monk, I think it was written in the early part of the 800s, might be 833, but I don't want to say something wrong. At that time, when this book was written, in Britain there were only 28 cities, and Lichfield was one of them. Lichfield Cathedral apparently is one of those places that stay in your mind long after you visited them. At least that's what people are saying, the ones that come here and visit this magical place. with over 1,300 years of history, this is the only cathedral in the UK that has 3 spines. With other words, it's the only 3-spined cathedral in the UK. What this symbolizes? Well, again, it is said that the bigger spine, the one from the back, symbolizes the Archdiocese of Lichfield. The one from the left, the way you look from the front at the cathedral, symbolizes the Archdiocese of Canterbury, and the other one, which is the shortest, symbolizes the Archdiocese of York. Now, a quick word, obviously the main one from the back is the tallest, and it looks huge actually, but the ones from the front are not at the same height. If you look at the cathedral from the front, you'll see that the one on the left is taller than the one from the right, and one of the reasons is that the Archdiocese of Canterbury apparently was maybe more important or more powerful than the one from York. But anyway, these are just details. Let me show you the cathedral. We are in the sun here, so I'm not sure how well you can see it. Once we go on the other side, it will be much clearer how beautiful and how mighty is this Gothic cathedral. Presumably, the first church has been on this site since 659, and just like in the case of Canterbury, it was a wooden church. I believe this was called St. Mary's Church, which means that Lichfield is one of the earliest centers, of Christian worship in the UK. A very distinctive pattern of this cathedral in comparison with the Canterbury's one is that it has a lot of statues, and you will see also that it has a lot of faces. What I mean by that is, I don't know if you'll be able to see, because again, I'm filming in the sun. Maybe on the other side will be more visible, but let me show you some of them and just tell me if you can see them. You see at the top there, on these columns, let's take for example this one from here. At the top here, you see it has some faces, some basically figures sculptured right there at the top, somewhere there. And these are just a few on this side, but there are plenty more. And what's even maybe more interesting is that there are also inside. So inside you'll also find this kind of sculptures and also faces of different people in these walls. The cathedral is dedicated to Saint Mary and Saint Chad. Initially, he was an Anglo-Saxon monk, but later he became a saint. And this happened somewhere in the 7th century. And Saint Chad is best known for bringing Christianity to the kingdom of Mercia. He did this with the help of his brother and another bishop. After the Norman invasion of Britain in 1066, when William the Conqueror invaded England, it is said that they've built a church here, of which only a few traces remained. The version of this cathedral that you see today dates back to 1330s, and of course it was built in a Gothic style. During the 17th century, which was the time when the English Civil War took place, the cathedral was badly damaged. This is why the last part of the 17th century and the first part of the 18th century was dedicated to works of restoration and repairs. James Wyatt, the famous English architect, led the process through which he removed the high altar and created or designed a long worship area alongside with a choir, Presbytery, if I'm pronouncing correctly, and the Lady Chapel. He also added the massive stone screen with glass to the roof at the entrance of the choir. This place is absolutely gorgeous. I've been walking around for a couple of minutes now, and yeah, although I showed you that this is like a hill, the whole cathedral is made on a hill. I don't even know how was that possible, considering that this construction was built hundreds of years ago. And remember what I told you, that there are plenty of carved figures in this cathedral, actually in the walls of it, both outside and inside. And probably the most obvious is the front of it, which is like, I almost don't have words for it. It's absolutely gorgeous. The statues belong to different personalities. Like, for example, this is Saint Bartholomew. You can see it's written here. By the names I can't really tell who they were. This is Saint Simon, Saint James, Saint Thomas, and it almost looks as if they look at you. It almost looks as if all these figures look at you. Now, not all of them, but it seems that wherever you might be around the cathedral, of course, yeah, I think that wherever you might be, it seems that there is at least one statue that looks at you, which is I don't know whose idea was this, but it's impressive. I've never seen something like this in my whole life. Again, here just to show you the front of it. Look at all these statues. So there are different levels. We can say this one is the ground floor, and then you have first floor, second, third, and so on. Although it's very windy, I want to show you first this side as well before going inside. I believe that's a good plan, if you ask me. Maybe from here you'll be able to see it better because it's right in the sun. Although it's very windy, I really hope you can hear me. All these stones, as I was telling you, were added in the Victorian era, if I understood correctly. I think this one has somebody put a mandarin there at his feet and some flowers. This is Charles II. It says that after the ravages of civil war, Charles II gave money and timber towards the repair of this cathedral. This statue was placed in the principal position on the west front, where it remained until the 19th century restoration. That's what's written there. So this is a very important figure for this cathedral, because basically he gave money to rebuild and to reconstruct maybe parts of this cathedral after the Civil War. Do you see those 7 figures from there? This is the south doorway of this cathedral, and those 7 figures that are carved there from left to right are Saint Augustine of Hippo, Jerome, Ambrose of Milan. Gregory the Great is the one from the middle. I remember that we talked about him in the previous video. Then John Chrysostom, Athanasium and Basil. Of course, as usual, I butchered some of these names. I just wanted to show you how beautiful they are. I mentioned previously, earlier in this video, this cathedral is dedicated to Saint Mary and Saint Chad, who was an Anglo-Saxon monk and who brought Christianity to the kingdom of Mercia. Now, before going inside, I want to show you one last thing, which is definitely, as you can tell already, another statue, this time of Saint Chad. Now let's go inside, shall we? It's so windy and it's so cold that I can barely feel my fingers. Let's continue our journey into this cathedral. I see some more faces up there. Maybe here it's better because the sun is behind us. You can see there, there, and there. Look at these doors actually. The details on the doors are amazing. And also the flowers carved there. And of course, more statues. You see, some of the statues are very small. I've mentioned to you that this is a Gothic cathedral built in a Gothic way. That's because when the Normans invaded England, they rebuilt this cathedral this way. And you see some of the statues are damaged because during the Civil War there were instances of armies or people coming here to destroy. This is why you'll see a lot of statues damaged in these walls. But it's very dark. I'm not sure if you can see it. Very dark, actually. I don't think I've ever been in a cathedral that's darker than this one. But look at the windows. Very nice painted. Let's see. So the birth of the Jubilee Oak, this was around 5,500 years ago.
Let's see all of this.
From what I can tell, this oak originated from thousands of years ago. And here you have the timetable. Basically, this is a very, very old and long table, and you can see what happened since this oak was still, let's say, alive. So 5,000 years later, this unique black oak trunk is expertly excavated and dried. Master craftspeople make the table of the nation. It's written here. Remember, I've showed you this door. I've showed you this door from outside. This is the south part of this cathedral, and this is the south doorway. We were on the other side when I was telling you about the earlier years. So this is the south side, and that is the north side. The one from there. Again, the carvings are very detailed, incredible. This is to the memory of Henry Ryder, another bishop of Gloucester, Lichfield and Coventry. And these are just some toys. I've never seen a place like this, I must say. Never in my life I've found a cathedral with place for kids to play just like this. In a way or another, I feel like this is a very welcoming cathedral. Although it's not as big as Canterbury's cathedral, it's still one of those three, the most important three places of worship in England that I've just mentioned. So Lichfield, Canterbury and York. This must be the... I think this is the choir, yeah, where they are coming here to sing. So this monument is erected to the memory of the officers, the non-commissioned officers and soldiers of the 18th Regiment of Foot of Staffordshire, volunteers, so they were volunteers, who fell during the Sutlej campaign that was about almost 200 years ago. And here you can find more about them. As you can see behind me, this cathedral has a lot of British military regimental flags, these ones, and this symbolizes different regiments that are related to this area, either north or south. These are called colors or standards, and the idea is that once they are retired, I'm talking about the flags, once the flags are retired, they are not destroyed, they are being left here just for people to remember as a memory of that regiment. So here we have Erasmus Darwin. Again, I don't think you can see the writing there because it's in the light, but Lichfield is the place where Erasmus Darwin was born, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. This is depicted a scene. It seems that the one on the left is a captain and the one on the right is a bishop, and the bishop has a sword. I'm not sure, but this might be the case or not, or it's just maybe he's asking for his permission to go and conquer some land. I'm just guessing, of course. As I mentioned, some of the statues are damaged because during the Civil War this cathedral was almost destroyed entirely. This is another example of a statue that was destroyed almost entirely. It seems that it was cut here and then it was put back. I see a lot of books here, and if I remember, this must be praying books, because when I go to church there they give you plenty of books in order to read and to understand what the priest is singing. And also the paintings on the floor. By my understanding, this must be the high altar, because usually it's very close to the choir and the choir is behind us. Okay, let's go to St. Chad's Head Chapel. You see what I just told you? There are plenty of statues, plenty of figures here, plenty of faces, and you always feel as if at least one of them is looking right at you all the time. This place is commemorating a lot of people. This statue is basically Johannes Hackett. This must be the birth of Jesus, a depiction of his birth moment. This was George Augustus, but we can't get there. This is the Lady Chapel. And you see more statues there, there, everywhere.
Every day we will.
Do you?
Yeah, because that's what makes it a church.
Yeah.
We have 3 services a day. So I'm setting up for a sleep service,
Oh.
which is evening prayer. Yeah. Even if it's just one clergyman and one person, this part of church still has to happen.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
That's all right.
I'm not sure if you heard, but they were saying that even if it's only one person coming, then they still held that service because that's basically the role of the cathedral, right? Thank you.
This is a quite unique part of the cathedral architecture. We can't quite get the hang of why that is shaped in the way it is, but it is.
But I've never seen anything like this. This entrance to the top.
This is all 13th century.
13th century.
This is where in medieval times pilgrims would have their feet washed.
In this place.
So they would sit here,
Yeah.
and the cathedral staff would wash their feet.
Wow.
This is in imitation of Christ washing.
Yeah, I was
the
wanting
feet
to
of
ask
the
you if that's the
disciples.
meaning or the initial meaning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then through here, this is
This is it.
13th century. Through here is the chapter house.
Wow. Gothic style, right? Gothic style.
And this is where the cathedral conducted business. So there it is. That's what we're looking at.
Yes, yes.
This up here is a medieval painting
That one.
above the
Okay.
altar.
Thank you. What's your name?
It's worth seeing.
What's your name?
My name's Oliver.
Oliver. Thank you so much, Oliver. Have a good day. Okay.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
And it's only half the size of what we lost half the book. It was the fourth
I found it. Obviously, thanks to Oliver.
And it's handwritten.
So this is the place. This is the place where in the medieval times they were washing the feet of the pilgrims. And this place is called Pedilavium. The Pedilavium. This is where they were sit and their feet was washed. Oh look, they have some places where the water can flow. Again, I'm not sure how well you can see it because it's very dark here actually. Oh, hello. There was a kid that was just about to fall. And this is Edward Sidney Wood, the Bishop of Lichfield, about 8 years ago.
Now a little oddity. You won't notice this. Many years around, we were a republic, and the cathedral was the
That's the painting.
1660s. Between 1660 and 1690, that was when they were repairing. And one of the things they did was whitewash over this paint.
That was the painting worth seeing that Oliver was telling me. This whole place is full of history. Beautiful, very beautiful.
Yeah.
This might be the darkest video I've ever made, because, especially because of the light, obviously, it's very dark here. But the cathedral, Lichfield Cathedral, is absolutely amazing. I believe on the front side there were 130 or 133 statues. The front side being in that direction. That's the door we came in. Maybe I didn't mention, but this is the crossing screen, and was built between 1859 and 1863. You know what I want to tell you? I didn't film what I'm just gonna tell you now, but towards the end, when I was about to leave the cathedral, there was Oliver, our friend, and he said a couple of words and then said a prayer, and took us like 2 minutes. It didn't take that long. And for about 2 minutes, I didn't move. I was just listening to his words. And then I turned around and I saw some people, maybe 2 or 3. We looked at each other. I haven't seen those people in my life. This is the first time I've seen them. And we just smiled at each other. And I realized that they also sit there and listen, which is something that I just can't describe. Or I can't explain, but it was very, very beautiful. That being said, this was the Lichfield Cathedral. Something that I also want to mention is that, probably I said this already in the beginning of this video, is that you can come here and visit the cathedral based on donations. So basically it doesn't cost any money. But I think it's worth supporting these places. So I also donated some money before leaving, and yeah, it just makes you feel good, because these places, I'm not really sure how was their budget and so on, but I think it's a kind thing to do if you are going to visit these places. If you can, obviously, I would suggest you to also make a donation to them. That being said, this was another Hasalem episode in which we visited yet another cathedral, Lichfield Cathedral. I hope you enjoyed, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!